right? So we began talking about, I guess, about 2 sessions ago, seven churches of Asia, and the brother popped it off, brother Rasirius Bey. He came in with the brother Abdullah, and he popped it off by even mentioning it. And I went into a demonstration. So, just a quick recap. Why am I bringing up the seven churches of Asia? We're talking about references to the Bible, seven churches of Asia. Taking that reference and we're looking at it in its proper perspective. In the Bible, they're going to simply reference the seven churches of Asia. They're going to give you a list. They're going to give attributes to each church. All right. So we're going to continue to go into in depth the seven churches of Asia. The first church, Ephesus. We're continuing from the book Perfect Matrimony. First church of Asia, Church of Ephesus, is a lotus with four splendid petals. This church has the brilliance of 10 million suns. The elemental earth of the sages is conquered with the power of this church. Second church, Church of Semina. The Kundalini's ascent to the prosthetic region, prosthetic, because remember we're talking about regions of the body. Your prostate is an area or region in your body. All right, so the Kundalini's ascent to the prosthetic region activates the six petals of the Church of Simura or Simrina. Why we continue to highlight these things? Because now we're talking about the story about the churches of Asia being symbolic to the internal workings of yourself. All roads lead to know thyself. And of course, on the physical plane, we ambassadors, we talking to the people, we seeking to unify. Since we're competent, we can go through the holy books that they're familiar with, our Christian brothers, sit them down in the book that they promote. Let them know, like, look, we on the same team. I'm about that. I'm about the principles that's in the Bible. We on the same page. Let's have Bible study. This is what we're doing right now. And actually, we're having Bible study right now. Right? All right. So this church bestows upon us power to dominate the elemental waters of life and joy of creation. So we're talking about elemental waters. That's talking about the emotional state. That's talking about the intuitive state. We're talking about earthly elements. We're talking about, a practical, logical, methodical, right? So that's what we mean by elemental, water, earth. Next church, Church of Pergamos. When the sacred serpent reaches the region of the navel, so what's the sacred serpent? This is chapter 7. We should all know what the sacred serpent is. We're talking about the electrical semen that has a direct correlation to the sun, being electrical, masculine energy that helps stimulate growth once the feminine magnetism magnetized and, you know, three trimesters start, right? Population starts, empires start to get built, kingdoms, organization on the earth plane amongst the humans, right? So the sacred serpent reaches the region of the navel. We can dominate volcanoes because the elemental fire of the sages correspond to the church of Pergamos. So we're not, when we're looking at the Church of Pergamos in the Bible, it's symbolic for mastering the area of the navel, or a process where the serpent reaches this area that corresponds to a certain chakra because you've ascended up the ladder. We just having Bible study with our brothers and sisters that are Christian. That's all we're doing. We wanna unite with the people in savvy ways, invoke thought. You're talking about the solar plexus. So this church of Asia, you're just dealing with the solar plexus, mastering the solar plexus, mastering alchemy, dealing with elements, dealing with the fire, handling the water, handling the earth, like the Magi. That's all we're doing. So this center controls the spleen, the liver, the pancreas, etc. This center of Pergamos has 10 petals. Go to the next church of Asia. The ascent of the Kundalini to the heart region. Now that serpent is climbing. That's seminal fluid is climbing to the heart region. The church of Thyatira with its 12 marvelous petals is activated. This church bestows upon us power over the elemental air of the sages. Development of this cardiac center, your specific cardiac, dealing with breathing, dealing with lungs, or anything associated to cardiac, confers inspiration. That's why they say spirit is breath. All the ancient practices have to do with stretching and deep breathing, right? That gets your blood flowing, transmitters working, intuition and powers for parting consciously in the astral body, as well as the power to place our body into Jinn state. Jinn state. That's like saying Super Saiyan, you know, chi or chi. It's called different things in different subcultures of Moorish civilizations. Activating the Christ, whatever you want to call it, right? We have to get to a point where we're able to reach that level. The second chapter of Revelation deals with the four lower churches of our organism. These four centers are known as fundamental or basic, prosthetic, umbilical, and cardiac. Now we shall study the three upper magnetic centers mentioned in Revelations chapter 3. These three upper churches are the churches of Sardis, Philadelphia, and lastly, Laodicea. All right. So the Kundalini's ascent to the region of the creative larynx bestows upon us the power to hear the voices of beings that live in the superior worlds. This chakra is related to the pure Akasha. Akasha is the agent of sound. So now you're talking about the larynx, you're talking about the ear, the construction of the ear, which is like, so we think about studios and the acoustics and how they soundproof the studio, and even in big opera cathedrals, how it's like the ceiling is going up and down like a serpent. They constructed things like the ear. I'm gonna let y'all sit on that one. Let y'all sit on that one. Akasha is the agent of sound. The large general chakra is the church of Sardis. When the Kundalini opens, the church of Sardis is open, it blossoms on our fertile lips, made word. The Larginal chakra has 16 beautiful petals. Complete development of this Akashic center, Akashic records. Ah, Akashic center allows us to keep our bodies alive even during the profound nights of the great Pralaya. Incarnation of the great word is impossible without having awakened the sacred serpent. If you're not ready to receive, you're not just not ready to receive. Akasha is precisely the agent of the world. It is to the word what conductive wire is to electricity. Conductive wire, able to what? Conduct, absorb energy, hold it for a while, utilize it until it dissipates until now you need some more energy, right? But the key is to be conductive. Are you ready to receive the energy and handle it, utilize it with intention? To climb up the ladder, chakra after chakra. Incarnation of the great word is impossible without having awakened the sacred serpent. Akasha is precisely the agent of the word. It is to the word what conductive wire is to electricity. The word needs Akasha to manifest itself. Akasha is the agent of sound. Kundalini is Akasha. Akasha is sexual. So think about this. It's memory in the seminal fluid. Akashic records are things that you're drawing from in the past that are correlated to your DNA. So this is stuff that happened that you tapping into that might have been thousands and thousands of years ago, and you just remember it. If the seminal fluid is Akasha, I'm just making that. I mean, that just makes sense to me. I mean, it's up for discussion, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying. It's memory in your secretion. It's memory in your blood. It's memory in your cellular structure. That's what Akashic records are, right? Everybody know. I don't know if nobody heard of the Akashic records, but Akasha, right? Cross-referencing. The magnetic center. So the no, Akasha is sexual. Kundalini is sexual. The magnetic center where the Kundalini normally lives is absolutely sexual, as demonstrated by the concrete fact of the place it is located. All right. I don't want to get too deep off into this. For one, my intention was to highlight the seven churches of Asia with this particular demonstration. So I don't want to get, we can go, a lot of depths of where we can go with this scope. My whole thing is to bring up the seven churches of Asia is deeper than what is just read in Revelations. Our Christian brothers and sisters, when we're doing our ambassador missionary work, talking to our friends, family, etc., doing demonstrations, let's lay the foundation and let's do Bible study with them from this perspective. Because now it's going to have their mind open. And everybody's not as stiff-necked as you think. There's a lot of people that are open-minded. When you're dealing with the public, you'll see you just got to be consistent and be accessible. Or whoever comes in your sphere, just constantly blazing them. Just be tactful, too. Just, you don't got to come off as preachy. Just look at it as a project. Like, I'm about to hit him with this. He gonna get this. I'm going to figure out how I got to give it to him. You know what I mean? Uh, all right, so let me see. Let me go into
Wait, before
spiritual.
you, oh
Oh
my
yeah,
bad,
yeah.
my
Let's do
bad.
some. My bad. Yeah, my bad. Let's do some commentary. Let's do some Q&A on that first slide, man. On that. How everybody
Before
feel? My
you
bad.
before you leave that,
when you say, so it's like a file cabinet, right? Like a record of previous beings, or is it like previous generations, as in like genetics, like your gene expressions? Is that like what is going like in a practical matter? It refers to your genes and the memory of your ancestors. But then if you take it to another level, it's referring to like a file cabinet of particular times you existed or could have existed or will exist.
Right. Which lets you know that the physical shell is not really you. You're just having this experience, but you were here before the physical shell, and you're gonna be here after the physical shell. Only thing that's gonna go and perish is the physical shell. So what we're doing is we're having clairvoyance, right? And I'm looking up Akashic records right now. Just to see what type of with the yep, they said it's associated with Akasha. It's a Sanskrit, yeah, Akasha. So Akasha is a Sanskrit word meaning ether, and right, the semen is ether, etheric, right? Um, so yeah, Akashic records is recalling ancient memories from your DNA structure.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, it sounds like basically like almost like a record of what has been going on through existence or whatever. And your DNA is basically it's like your connection, your journey, your part in this or whatever. Like that's kind of how I perceived it. Is that kind of how it is?
Yeah, it's like it's something you just recall, you know.
Mm.
It's like, man, it's a phenomenon, you know.
Yeah.
Um, oh, and then Indigo got something in the chat. Records of anything that has ever happened at any time in existence. Um,
Right.
yeah,
Exactly. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Would an example be like say you go to an area where like people are super happy and like you could feel like they were happy there, and then like a flip side, like a negative would be like if somebody was really hurt there, you could kind of feel like the atmosphere being like hurt. It's like the environment records the interaction of beings without us being aware.
Man, yeah, that's like a good way to like put it because it's like still being able to feel those like ancient or some time ago vibrations and stuff that are in certain areas. Yeah. Like I get what you're saying.
So y'all saying the evolution of Moorish people is in your DNA.
yeah,
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 yeah. I mean, because as I see it, we all made from the creator, you know what I mean? And like Mafi said, talking about the spirit, being first, we are, like he said, with the body, we are spirits in a vessel. We can't take any of this with us when we leave, It's our spirit and our soul and our experiences. Like he was saying, digging in the records and stuff, you know what I mean?
So my thing too is like, with is it like gene expression? So like apparently, maybe because of the way the Earth is, you could see like some of the structures that were built. Like we were bigger, like way bigger. So it does. You think we could tap into that type of formula? I don't know how that would be done practically, but I know that if it's true that the ancestry line exists where we were bigger, then
well,
you
I
know,
think I think that's a different scope, but I will say this: based on my research, the oxygen was a little different. It wasn't so polluted, and once
right,
humans get an abundance of proper oxygen, we were just naturally taller. You
right,
look at Buckingham Palace. You look at a lot of the museums. They'll have like pieces of like a living room, and where's the book stand huge, like you got to get on the stairs,
Huge.
like the table, the doors is huge, like you know what I mean.
Right.
So
Yes. And
you
the
know,
Tartars, they'll show like
Yeah.
images of the Tartars, different melanated versions of them being huge compared to like some of the other versions of humans. But I digress and I yield.
No, I just want to say I agree like what Mafi said, and I think, bro, I think most definitely, I think that you know the Father would let us have a lot of capabilities if we are deserving of it and we can handle and use things correctly. Same way we taught from children. You know what I mean? We're given certain things and stuff that we can handle so we can progress. So yeah, I think if we proved ourselves worthy, it'd be that plus. But I yield.
yeah. Any other thoughts on that space before we're at this is the 12 powers of man. Uh, Before we get into this space, any other thoughts on the last space we was on, dealing with the seven churches of Asia, dealing with Akasha Records, anything in that scope? Brother Yazir Bey, did I greet you? If I did, man, peace and love, man. I'm just, oh,
You
somebody
did.
else.
You
Okay.
did. Yeah. Appreciate
Islam.
that. Islam.
Mutaz Majid Bey got something in the chat. Energies never die. So if our ancestors return, we are experiencing, remembering what always was. Right. Yep. So we was here before the vessel. We're gonna be here after the vessel. But we had experiences because we might have been in different vessels. We might have um, etheric energies because everything is not always to see physically. That's a carnal experience. There's lives and energies and intelligences that you can't necessarily see with the naked eye, and it's still an intelligence having an experience. So we're having a carnal experience at the moment. You know what I mean? So once we realize that, we won't get attached to carnal things so much. And our people have been traumatized on a lot of different levels, so it's easier said than done. But as we come into what this thing really about is reaching the highest version of ourselves and then uniting and form communities that reflect our internal. Right now, you got the empires, kingdoms, and all these things are right. Our ancestors already laid a demonstration down. Where they was at, we created culture and religion. Breathing exercises to activate, get closer to knowing the heavens and know how that relate to your body. Like our people figured that out. You know what I'm saying? So you got to get back to that type of thought process. You know what I mean? So we got the recipe along with back to the 144,000. You have to be ready to receive this too. And now stuff just starts making sense. Like, come on, man. Like, they already laid a demonstration down on how we need to be acting, right? We need to organize. We need culture. We need structure. We need high vibration. We need not to be low vibrational. We need to build. Leave behind a legacy for the youth. So the youth can do the same thing for their youth. And then the youth do the same thing for their youth. Oh, now you got dynasties are created. Right? So we just tapping in. So we just late, but we tapping in now. So it ain't late. It's divine, right? We here. So this is chapter 10. Well, power is a man. Once again, we're still in the Bible. We're still having Bible study. 23rd chapter of Matthew is a philippic against ritualism. Jesus arraigns the scribes and the Pharisees before the bar of the divine law and charges them with a long list of crimes committed in the name of religion. He makes charge after charge of delinquency, delinquent, not having, lacking in spiritual observance of the law, and warns his disciples and the multitudes to beware of the works of these blind leaders of the blind. Among other accusations, he says, ye, they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne and lay them on men's shoulders. All their work they do to be seen of men. They love the chief place at feast and the chief seats in the synagogues and to be called men of the rabbi. But not ye call rabbi, for one is your teacher, and all ye are your brethren, and call no man your father on the earth. Hold on. Yahshua said, call no man father. Why are they calling this man? What are they calling the Pope father? They're supposed to be pro-Jesus. Call your Christian. Let's have Bible study with our Christian brothers. Let's sit down and talk to them and let them, cause we're gonna get them back integrated where they're supposed to be by any means necessary, right? With intelligence. We're gonna hit them with all the angles. Let me check the chat here. Right? Right. Why we call you calling people father? But they follow Jesus. He gave specific instruction, not to don't ever call no man having a carnal experience father. All right. So bottom line is all these people that's holier than thou. I'm a devout Christian, so I can't do this. What you're talking about. Okay. Are you Christian? Let's analyze how you live in your life. Are you in harmony with what this book is really talking about? Are you even familiar with the things I'm telling you in the Bible? Because typically, you bring stuff like this, typically Christians aren't even familiar from this scope of what we're talking about of the Bible, right? So we want to invoke thought. You want to invoke thought. So all these woes are to those who are living in the letter instead of in the spirit of the law. Jesus did not condemn religion nor religious organizations. His denunciations were aimed at those who profess to teach and to follow the law, but fall short carrying in it out in their lives. Right? So we talking, oh, we more, we're trying to unite the people, we're trying to do whatever the message is. If the person that's screaming that, and you don't see in their life that they're trying to do that, red flags. Alarm goes off. Your intuitive alarm should go off. Oh, I can put you on a do not detain list. When you authenticate the birth certificate, you gonna own the straw man. The back of the social security card, you know, it's connected to 13 federal banks. And you're gonna have control over the account and routing system. You're gonna have access. Matter of fact, you don't even gotta go to work, do nothing because everything paid for, and give me 10,000, I'm gonna show you how to go through all that. I'm gonna set you up with a nice little packet, right? Then why are you charging me? Right. Hear the alarms. Why are you charging me 10,000 if you already set up? Just put me down with the information on how you did it. You already right. But on the flip side, are people going to perish for lack of ignorance and being greedy and being lazy and trying to find a shortcut? See, it's two sides of this stuff. One side is we got scammers and connivers and vampires. But on the flip side, our people want the easy way out. Don't want to slowly build and unite, which are in harmony with what Yahshua preached. Right? Actions without works. Right? Right here, however, religious teachers should be on their guard in framing tenets for religious organizations. Do not dogmatize in creed. Do not turn the creed into something that's dogma. Don't take the culture and dogmatize it. You could be just looking at a building that says Moorish Science Temple. Have they dogmatized the creed? You can be looking at a Buddhist temple. Have they dogmatized the creed? You could be looking at a masjid, Sufi, Shiite. Have they dogmatized the creed? These are questions you need to ask, right? Because after all, are they just spitting Quran verses, spitting Bible verses because they retain the scripture real good and can spit it to you what it said? Or is their lifestyle in harmony with what they're talking about? That's the most important thing. And do they even know what's in the book that they claim to know? Right? To study more, gonna go in the book with the people. Because remember, we're on the mountaintop. Like Brother Martin Luther King, right? We're on the mountaintop. Been to the mountaintop. More is at the mountaintop. What that means, we've been called to this information. Now we realize that a lot of our people don't know this information. And now the people that know this information that are trying to use it in a positive law, positive light, of course, is a few. So that's where the missionary work, that's the whole point of missionary work. It's the whole point of, it's one body at a time. And then we lead by example to inspire the rest of the people. And then now the people come in droves. You ain't gonna be able to, you either fight people off. You coming towards this information because there's gonna come a time where people be like, oh man, they was right. I should have been on this. I see the world, you know what I mean? So spiritual law and order. Um, I'm a everybody here knows about the fiscal new year and all that. I'm gonna let Brother Benjamin Bay go, and I might go into the fiscal new year measure. Um, Let me allow you to share the screen, Brother Benjamin Bay. Okay, you got action. I
Yeah,
share
that
the screen.
boss.
Brother Benjamin Bay got the presentation. Looking forward to it.
Are we in the game?
I can see your screen.
Bird. Everybody see this?
Oh, Maya Angelou. I see Maya Angelou.
Yeah.
Yes.
I decided to go the astrology route and just talk about the life astrologically of Maya Angelou. But yeah, here Maya Angelou, born April 4th, 1928, Constantinian Crusade Cross adjustment, which basically means the corporate saying of what year it is. And right here I put Tupac Still I Rise because she had I want to say I had a book or something that said Still I Rise, and I was thinking like maybe Tupac got inspiration from that, and I love this album personally. And Tupac was in his Leo's the time for releasing. We'll get into that later, but it's kind of ironic that when he made this, he was in his Leo part of life, and Maya Angelou was born in Leo part of life. You know what I mean? So I'm like, and it kind of like they both went through like turmoil, the Still I Rise theme, even though I go through all this BS, Still I Rise, kind of like a flower, but that's why I put that there, you know. But yeah, Iloa Raphael, which is Mercury, Sun equals 14 degrees Aries, 48 minutes and 20 seconds, 1348, which is the Moorish calendar year. You know what I mean? Aquarius right there. Moorish tropic cosmological, because we're doing tropical astrology, which is based on the sun and not the moon, which is sidereal. Celestial longitude calculation and measurement. Manifestation location, St. Louis, Missouri Corporation, or Missouri. Honoring my ancient foremothers and forefathers as being in pure heart, being sincere intent, being love, being honor. My Angelo's Trinity numerical code or rising would be 5 and 1, so it would be the fifth sign. which is Leo in the first house. So planet, sign, house. So when you see those three numbers, 5, 1, and 9. So 5 would be the planet, the sign. Second would be the first sign, and the last number would be the house, which is the ninth house. And the moon sign or planet, the fourth sign, which rules the fourth house, the seventh sign, which is Libra, and the third house. Words pertaining to the Trinity numerical code: ascendant, the sun is creativity, and the Mars itself, which is the first house. The sun, once again, creativity, Mars, self, higher learning, which is Jupiter. And you see the little asterisk there on the left, which represents Jupiter, which represents higher learning and expanding. So when you're learning, you're expanding your mind. You know what I mean? The moon, right there, represents home, Venus, or relationships, and Mercury, communication. Testimony pertaining to Maya Angelou's Trinity. Maya Angelou presented herself through her creativity, which is the sun, and firm self-knowing, that's Mars, of herself. Maya Angelou desires, which is Venus, for higher learning, Jupiter, most contributed to her communications and relationships with her caregivers at a young age in the home. And that would refer to her grandmother, you know what I mean? So her grandmother taught her a good bit. And right here is her chart. So right there on the horizon, you can see second house. You see the moon right there in Libra. You know what I mean? So her, that says the third, but it's the second because of how the tropical system is. It's like 5 degrees less than where the moon is, sidereally, but pushing for it. Who is Maya Angelou? Looking at Maya Angelou's chart above, one can see that she has celestial body Neptune in Leo, which will go back up over here to the far left. You see that 2, and then the sign that looks like Aquaman right there. That's what that is. A Neptune. Higher learning octave of celestial body Jupiter, whom resides in the sign Aries, which rules houses 12 and 9. These are the houses. These are the houses of spirituality, 12th house, and higher learning, ninth house. Neptune retrograde, that's that sign right there, the R and the X, being in the first house on the cusp of her second house of possessions and how one speaks. Maya Angelou Maya Angelou was someone who gives the desire to unveil mysteries and to the truths, the light, to the truth to life through higher educational institutions with pride and leadership anchoring her soul's journey. She was a powerful speaker. It's a beautiful picture of her. You know what I mean? And for Maya Angelou's purpose, seeing Uranus, go back up here. Excuse me. Right there in the ninth house next to the sun. We'll see her planet Uranus. Ninth house of higher learning. Uranus, the great awakener of the celestial bodies, gives increasing mental ability to learn lessons from Saturn. Mr. Discipline, to give structure pertaining physical life experiences to teach the higher self when solving lower distractions and desires. Maya Angelou's purpose on this earth plane was to teach others the self-truth that resides in all of us despite the conditions we face on the journey of the soul's ascension. And that goes back to the Tupac, Still I Rise, for me, because I was like, that's like not since I was 3, but me growing up, you see certain things and you kind of are fighting quote unquote adversity. You know what I mean? And this kind of helped me do that. So Maya Angelou, Tupac kind of helped me see the still I rise. Like even though I may not reach this, I'll still rise above that, distraction or whatever it may be. You know what I'm saying? And another picture, I got this one because she had a turban on. So whether she knew about her nationality or not, unconsciously she still represented who she truly was, you know what I'm saying? Always been a stand-up woman and always, looking like a proper woman should. Maya Angelou sect team. Maya Angelou has a diurnal chart, which means she was born in the daytime. Has the God team. The God team are the celestial bodies, the sun, Saturn, Jupiter. The sun is in Aries, 14 degrees, 48 minutes, and 20 seconds. Jupiter is in Aries, 16 minutes, or 16 degrees, 7 minutes, and 11 seconds. And Saturn, retrograde in Sagittarius, 19 degrees, 5 minutes, and 26 seconds. The numerical code for the sun, which is planet, sign, house again. So we got the planet, which is the sun, was the fifth house, the sign, first sign, Aries, and the house, ninth house of higher learning, numerical code for Jupiter, which is rules the ninth sign, the 12th house, and the first house, and the ninth house right there. The numerical code for Saturn retrograde got 10, 11, 5, and 9. Sun keywords: creativity, self, higher learning, and education. So you got creativity, which is sun, self, Mars, higher learning, Jupiter. Jupiter keywords: higher education, spirituality, self, foreign travel. Saturn keywords: endurance, essential, status. I think Saturn would be definitely a still I rise principle as well, because Saturn definitely allows you to rise above the things that will make you greater. You know what I mean? So Maya Angelou is the diagonal releasing. So this is the sign that ruled in 2012 right here in the Cancer. So in 2012, Cancer ruled her entire chart until 2020. And right here, LB is her last birthday. Peace be upon her. But she transitioned in a Cancer, the diagonal releasing as well. You know what I mean? And it's another beautiful picture of her. And I just wanted to capture, like the Moorish part of it. Not saying that she did this because of Moorish, but we know she's a Moor and things of that nature. But what she was wearing, still looking modest, you know what I mean? And having that cultural essence with it. Maya Angelou having a zodiacal releasing pertaining to her part of fortune body and zodiacal signs of Cancer, Capricorn, Cancer, Capricorn. Words pertaining to the part of fortune. Cancer, home, Capricorn, status, Cancer, nurturer, Capricorn, structure. Maya Angelou's zodiacal releasing for fortune begins in a 30-year Aquarius cycle, which is governed by Saturn. Maya Angelou would have been on level 4 Capricorn period pertaining to the 2021 Gregorian calendar, with the pattern of Cancer and Capricorn in the releasing for fortune, securing and structure within the home for the nurture and care for one's essentials. And right here, we'll go back up, highlighted right there, 25th of September, LB would be the zodiacal relation she would have been on. She will still be here with us. Maya Angelou's annual perfections. It's a chart for it, and you see the third house right there, Libra. So I mean, Venus is the shot caller here. Maya Angelou's last celebrated solar return, the lovely soul was having an activated, protected third house right here, highlighted, which deals with communication and knowing the poet. Her communication was very elegant than what we were writing at that point. The sign on the cusp ruling that third house, Venus, is the scales of justice, Libra. Libra here brings balance, also relationships to the forefront of communication. Venus rules over Maya's year pertaining to her annual perfections. Her overall year was most focused on communicating in relationships and her close possessions, because second house or third house is those type of things. Maya Angelou's fiduciary. Am I saying that right? Maya Angelou had Venus, April 4th, 2013, Crusade Cross adjustment year, which is Eloa Sachiel, which is Jupiter. Sun equals 15 degrees Aries, 4 minutes, 14:33. Morris tropic cosmological celestial longitudinal calculation and measurements. Maya was experiencing a Venus and Mercury fiduciary of her latest solar return. So that's right here. So we can I blow it up? There we go. See Venus right there, April 4th, 2013. Venus, Mercury, Venus, Moon, Venus, Saturn, Venus, Jupiter, Venus, Mars, and Venus, Sun. So everything was like predicated around relationships, things of that nature. Venus period, the years of search for harmony and beauty in one's life. Relationships with the loved ones usually become important in this period, or there is a desire to form a relationship. There may be a tendency to find a more pleasant place in the world, the role which will allow to enjoy oneself without overexerting. Under the influence of Venus, one might become interested in fashions, decorations, and beautiful things in general. The Mercury period, the years when knowledge, information, ability to make contracts with other people can become important. This might be indeed the time that the person goes to a university, but in many cases, the university of life becomes the main teaching goal, the main teaching body. There may be a desire to experience every possible facet of life, to try oneself in many different roles. Maya Angelou's solar return, so it's her birthday. Maya Angelou's solar return for 2014 Crusade Cross Adjustment. The ascendant for Maya's solar return chart is 3 degrees Cancer, 16 minutes. The sun in Maya's solar return chart was in the 10th house in Aries, 14 degrees, 48 minutes, transiting the natal 11th house and solar return 12th is the moon in Gemini, 14 degrees, 51 minutes. Numerical code, descendant 401. So you got the planet, the moon, and the moon rules fourth house, and the first house, one, first sign. You words are home and self. Sun, 5110. The words are creativity, self, status, and essentials. Because you got 5, creativity, 1, self, 10, status. And that would be, Saturn. The moon, 4 to 12. So you got the planet of the moon's fourth, second house, or second sign, 12th house. Words are home, possession, and spirituality. Maya Angelou's solar return energy for April 4th, 2014 Crusade Cross Adjustment was focused on securing home. Maya's solar return in the 10th house of essentials put light on her securing her essentials pertaining to her career. Coming to the moon in the 12th house pertaining to institutions and undoing communication with someone of a higher education and authority to gain and secure matters to self-learning or expansions in self-care. And that would be right here. Y'all see that? There's her moon, right there, 12th house, and descended right there, and Jupiter. So keep pushing on. All right, Maya Angelou's solar arc directions. Solar arc direction for Maya Angelou's last solar return chart date. Maya Angelou's ascendant for her solar return date based solar arc direction chart is on the sign Scorpio. The master of the ascendant is Venus, which gives the beauty and reflection underneath the Scorpion appearance. The solar arc sun conjunct the solar arc Jupiter, transiting the 12th house, which is right there. 12th house, 7 degrees Cancer, 47 minutes. Maya Angelou's moon solar arc 6th house with Capricorn giving the script for the solar arced moon, which puts Maya's emotions and mind on getting service pertaining to her essentials to preserve them within the home. Secondary progressions for Maya Angelou's natal chart. Maya Angelou's secondary progressions to her natal chart has her ascendant in the sign Scorpio, 2 degrees 10 minutes, being ruled by her secondary progressed Mars. Assertive transformation within the home, which manifests its way into the career field, securing home behind the scenes matters. Listen, Scorpio does behind the scene things. Maya Angelou's secondary progressed sun is located in her 12th house in Cancer. Somebody said something?
No, I think you get it.
Or 7 degrees 47 minutes. Her sun is in between the celestial bodies Pluto and Mercury. Transformative healing and communication matters in an institution pertaining to the home, breast, or stomach. Maya Angelou's secondary progressed moon, which is 1 degrees 26 minutes, for Maya's last solar return, sits over her 4th house of home and comfort over the sign of the intuitive Cancer, which Brother Mafi was talking about earlier, which deals with water. Water deals with things that are intuitive, so it kind of brings it in and cleanses and washes and nourishes, and it's kind of the vibe, Miss Maya Angelou gave off, what I mean? And she did speak to Tupac, I remember saying something when I want not the movie Juice, but she was basically telling him like calm down, cool out, and I remember her saying something to his mother, and that was a Cancer moment, saying a loving, motherly moment, like, hey, young man, I get it, you're hype and all that, but to cool down a little bit, and that's like a motherly thing to do. If someone sees you out being, hothead or whatever, tap you on the shoulder, like, hey, bro, just cool that down, and if you got respect for mother, you're going to do as such, which Tupac did. He didn't have the best relationship with mom, but he respected her. You know what I mean? That's what we all got to, try and do. Maya Angelou's 10th house harmonic. Maya Angelou's 10th house harmonic indicates power, position, achievement, status, and skill, which are all attributes of Maya Angelou's character. Mars ruling the ascendant from the second sign indicates sensitive matters pertaining to Maya Angelou's estate. Saturn in Gemini being the lord over Maya's 10th sign in the 10th harmonic horoscope. Saturn is ruling over Capricorn, making status and essentials at the forefront of the mind. The sun home in Leo, giving light to her creativity to carry over into services in the next sign of Virgo. Finishing up with Mercury in the sign of Sagittarius, giving communication with higher learning or a distant partner. And right here, when it's the end, right here, or it is the end, the source pages, Pathway, Essential.com, Astro.com, AstroSeek.com, www.astrologicalsociety.us, and AstroGo via iPad, to, bring this here. But I appreciate everybody for listening to me.
Wow. Yeah, that was a good, excellent demonstration, man. Excellent demonstration.
Excellent.
And when we're talking about, know thyself and the intricate levels.
A shout out
no.
Country Wisdom. It was a poem she famous wrote, "Sly Rise." Appreciate that. I was trying to talk about that earlier. Thank you for that correction.
Yep. Yeah. The intricate levels of what it means to know thyself. And when you talk about Noble Drew Ali saying study, 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 he's just simply making references, know thyself. He didn't mention nothing as in depth as we're talking about. But that's what his intention was, for you to go that in depth, though. You know what I mean? So that was beautiful, man. I appreciate that. And I like how you pick somebody that is that's well renowned, and you can match as above, so below, right? Her internal workings based on the snapshot of the degrees of the Elohim, based on her, right? She lived up to the prophecies, right? Look, that's basically, look, you here to do something. You got an assignment. Or you can look at it like you're here and you were bestowed certain types of gifts to be a catalyst to get certain things going, be in a certain position, to be a service to humanity. And it's just your natural gifts. Your goal is to find out what those are, be in tune with what those are. Right. And back to the Bible, when you take my demonstration, his demonstration, when you combined it, you start seeing it's a bigger picture to what the preacher, the pastor, the minister, the rabbi is talking about by just being a parrot and just saying certain scriptures and not going into what does this really open the door to. 7 churches of Asia is taking you to chakra mastery. Knowing yourself is not just lying. It's taking you to like what the brother went into. In the depth, knowing yourself to such a level where you can diagnose yourself. Certain things are off. You can instinctively like, oh, I need to stop eating this. I probably ate too much of this. That's probably why I got little sniffles. If you're not in tune with yourself, you everywhere, you ain't gonna notice none of that. You're gonna keep eating, doing what you're doing, and next thing you know, you full blown out of commission. You know what I mean? So, any thought statements on this space, man? On what the brother Benjamin Bay laid down today?
I think it was pretty cool how you laid out her entire, like, I don't know, it's like, I don't even know how to describe that, because it's like it's the energy of your like your existence and put it to another, I don't know, another form, and you laid it out very succinctly. And I'm just trying to think, like, does that mean like your path is already written for you, or is it as you go, it unfolds? Because essentially, you could calculate where the planet's positions will be in the future and predict the future.
Okay, I feel like you're saying two things. So one, yes, you can predict the future. That's why a meteorologist, a meteorologist is commercially called a weatherman or a weatherwoman. What they're doing is doing a forecast for the whole week or a couple of weeks.
Wow.
They're going to tell you what the weather is. How they're able to predict this data is understanding the heavens, the trends, the patterns. That's one.
Mm,
But the other thing you were saying is you want to know yourself so you can know your attributes and your gifts, what you can do that's great.
mm,
And then now you want to incorporate that into utilizing that to uplift humanity,
mm.
uh, or leaving behind a legacy, doing great things, doing positive, great things with your gifts, you know. Uh, and that's just one level. There's so many reasons to know.
Levels you could take it, yeah. Because at one level is forecasting, another level is knowing yourself, and there's many other levels you could take it.
Yeah. Larry Bay, Islam, peace and love, iPad, brother or sister iPad, peace and love.
Yeah, peace and love, fam. Peace and love to everyone out there. Peace and greedy.
Peace and love.
Peace and love, brother Larry Bay. Peace and love.
Peace.
Islam. I had a
Kelly,
question
brother Kelly,
to that.
Islam.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, y'all. Yazir.
The man, like great presentation. Like a lot. From what I could comprehend, a lot. I feel like I still don't know yet. It's like where can I just now got like the understanding of degrees. How you were saying like we all can be in Virgo, but there's different degrees, and then that can change the aspect. Where is there book or I know we have to study, but where do I study that to get the foundation of all of what the brother was sharing with us as well? Because some of it I couldn't comprehend. I'm not gonna lie, but it was great. I want to get to that level and understanding myself.
Um, Benjamin Bay, if you can put some astrological fundamental things in the chat to direct him on just understanding the basics of the glyphs of the planet, just basic house,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Much
And then
appreciation, brother.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the same too. At some point today, I'm going to send you some fundamental stuff so you can get your feet wet with that space.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I get the houses, and it just gets very like I didn't even know it got that deep. I was like, dang, he went in on and it's so dope because he went in on somebody else just by knowing her birthday and certain information about him, and he just gave us all of that. I was like, what the whoa. That's wild. That's magnificent though.
And so think about. Go ahead. You got something, brother Benjamin? Go
I
ahead.
was saying, I took a astrology course. Was sevenhillstar.com astrology qualification with brother Hassan, and that's how I broke it down that way with planet sign, houses, and things of that nature. So, it does take a good bit of time, but kind of like anything, you work out every day, you'll get to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's intricate, but long story short, the reason I guess know a little bit that I know is because I took an astrology course, and that's the format that Brother Hassan taught us. So the reason I'm saying like what's her purpose and who is she and things of that nature. So when you go into your chart, you be like, what's my purpose on Earth? Oh, find the planet Neptune, because that teaches you the illusions of life or the truth. Kind of like a movie. It's like a hidden message in it. And it's kind of how I look at life. Experiences like hidden messages. It's a lesson in the stressing. So that's how I look at astrology. And me looking at her life and then looking at astrology is above self love. Because like, you know, her being in a Mercury is ideal cool releasing, she's all she did was communicate through writing. And at one point she wasn't talking. You know what I mean? I'm like, dang, that's still a form of communication, not talking. You know what I'm saying? Because you say, hey, and nobody say anything back. You like, well, hey, I need a response. You know, so that's in the realm of communication. But I'll send some things in the chat. But I just took a astrology course. You know, and I would say you can go to Astrology Street on YouTube, and Brother Sun's a great teacher, you know, and he has a lot of great things, you know, for you to learn from, you know, and printouts and things of that nature that make it like extremely basic so you can stack things on, you know what I'm saying? So it seems
Yeah.
a lot, but it was just a bunch of simple things broken down, you know what I'm saying? Like breaking down who she is from her relationships, how she thinks, how she talks, you know, her upbringing. It's like the 12 houses is like the 12 phases of life. You know what I mean? So the self is a part of life. Your money is a part of life. Your family is a part of life. Your home is a part of life. Your work, your relationship, how you learn. That's ninth house. You know what I'm saying? How you work. 10th house. 11th house, friends. Right now, we're doing 11th house things because we're taking our creativity and expanding it and streaming it across planet because you got Leo and Aquarius. You know, creating in Leo and sharing it through streaming in Aquarius and 11th house, which is games and things of that nature. And the 12th house would be your room. That's where you're secluded. That's where you're comfortable. Where you think. So this is how I'm looking at it. But for the most part, I just took an astrology course and, you know, try to see astrology in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I downloaded like the astrology apps, you know, so I can just kind of pull up like the chart, just kind of like how you pull up Instagram, you know,
Yeah.
like traffic, right? And I see somebody like speeding or doing cut me off or something. I'm like, man, it got to be a Mars hour or something. And oh, it is. Or if I'm at the light, right? I'm like, man, there's a lot of traffic out here right now. This ain't moving. And it'd be the hour of Saturn, which is restriction. So I'm like, okay, because I'm like an Aries sun, so I don't have a lot of patience. I'm be like trying to push through things. So that really helps me a lot. It kind of slows me down because in life you kind of can be reactive. You know what I'm saying? And thinking the world's against you, but it's really just our unknowing of what's happening above us, and it's happening below, but we not, you know, knowing what's going on. It's not like playing the game once again and not having a controller in the system. We just free ball. You know what I mean? So the astrology kind of helps me stop free balling, kind of plug my controller to the universe, as Snoop Jolly said. He connected the cords. I want to butcher this back. The heavens, that's I butchered that, but he's like, I took the cords and I connected them back to the heavens, you know what I'm saying? Which is basically, hey, steady the stars. You know what I mean? Don't look at man, he'll lie to you. The sun gonna rise and come again every day. Man is gonna leave and probably not come back. You know what I mean? But I yield.
Wow. Kyle L, you got something?
Yeah, I got a kind of like a question mixed with a comment as well pertaining to the science that the brother was just dropping. I watched this kid series called The Last Airbender, like maybe a year or so ago, and it was talking about how these different tribes had different signs according to like fire signs, water signs, air signs, and earth signs, like earth benders, air benders, water benders, and fire benders. And in one of these particular episodes, another tribe was getting ready to conquer a different tribe, and they knew when to attack um by one of the elements being able to give another tribe power. I believe it was the sun, and so instead of attacking, I believe it was the fire tribe when they wanted to attack was at nighttime when the moon was high, and they were going to attack the water tribe, but that's when they had most of their power was derived from the moon.
Oh, right.
And
I
so
see what
they
you're saying.
waited until the sun rose until where the fire tribe had most of their power deriving from the sun. So my kind of like comment slash question is with this astrology, it kind of got me to thinking as to like people who do voodoo and they utilize voodoo for protective charms and protective spells to protect themselves and their family. if what I'm hearing is correct, it sounds that astrology could also be used or utilized to conquer a people, and that maybe even the masters and high generals in the military ranks even utilize this science on when to attack a people, when to attack a land, and then also being used on a smaller scale as to how to engage a land mass of all of us being in North America, how to change our vibration, knowing how our vibration connects with the elements of the world and with astrology, by when to engage us with political warfare or entertainment warfare or warfare within ourselves and within our own families and our communities, which would also go back into like movies, songs, and certain patterns with those elements. But I was wondering, is that a little bit too far fetched? And does anybody have knowledge based off of like the voodoo and the protective spells, and then like any science to drop as to what I'm saying off of the elements and all of that, like coming, back together,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, yeah. All the bullet points, like your first bullet point was saying that basically enemigos that we use this to go to war against us as a tactic. Like you gave an example, attacking at our weakest point. It could be a retrograde. It could be this or whatever the case may be. That's true. That has happened. Matter of fact, it's magistrates, quote unquote judges that do the same thing. They'll summon you to court at your weakest point where you maybe your concentration not as sharp, and they'll try to, yeah, they'll try to do stuff like that. The other bullet point you were talking about how we can utilize this to bring us to unification. Not for one with yourself. You want to be in unification with yourself. You want to know yourself and be at peace with yourself because you know your inner workings. And then you want to unite with other people that are on that same path. And then it's going to reflect physically because we're going to start building for righteous things. And just the simple fact that we're on the same page as a people is keeping the covenant in the Bible. And all that started from knowing yourself, right? Knowing uh, your inner workings, you know. What was your other point? We had another point. Did I address everything? Or what did you have? Another point?
Well, but I was also, yeah, you addressed it most definitely. But I was also addressing, like protective trauma. So basically, like, I guess what I'm getting to is how do we as Moors start to utilize this science in order to protect ourselves, in order to uh, further our personal and national agendas. You know what I'm saying? Because at, on a real tip, we had a warfare. So how do we utilize? Because I noticed one thing in the Moorish community that none of us have are rituals. And all of our, like you read out of that book that was talking about like West Africa and like rituals usually coming from out of West Africa, and our information was passed down through the preservance of our sacred and our ancient history and our science. So how do we as Moors advance from using this information to not only preserving our ancient knowledge once more, but also protect ourselves while we are out here facing these, like you said, these judges, these magistrates, or these powers that be that are against us, that we either know or that are knowing or unknowing to us. Like, should we tap back in with our African family and our Caribbean family with the voodoo?
Yeah,
Should
get one of those
we,
book
like,
bags.
how deep in the science do we go with this?
That's a damn good question.
But that's the whole point of getting the uncut information. Because even like how you're saying voodoo, most people will hear that and it's a negative connotation towards it. They're gonna show you, you're gonna watch a documentary and it's gonna be they in Haiti somewhere and it's a chicken foot and they, it's a
Right.
dog. It's a dog. They poking the
Uh,
dog and that's supposed to be poking you. You know what I'm saying? But it's not about that. It's about knowing the elements, knowing the herbs, knowing yourself, you're able to create a remedy that's not from the pill. It's not from the FDA. It's not FDA controlled. You can produce a remedy. You would be considered doing voodoo. That's how they do it. It's really that simple. Just because you know a more ancient perspective of a peaceful way of life to promote peace and know the herbal system medicinally, that's voodoo. Because you keep an ancient traditions. But once you understand that that's more science, the reason you're looking at our people from the islands because they're more cultured than the Negroes that's on the continental mainland. That's the only reason you're saying that. It's a step up.
Right.
But
Right.
I
but
think, hey, Mom, I think he want to know, can we get some root bags? You know what I'm saying? He talking about the judges get a root bag, go to South Carolina.
yeah. But that's the levels to the game, man. It's like we see our people that have a tad bit more culture than the continental people that classify African American, Black, Negro, people from Haiti, Jamaica, Cuba, Central America, that's dark complected. Um, they work together a tad bit more. But at the end of the day, now that we got this back to the 144,000, we got this divine info. We can unite the people in the mainland, or people from the islands, or Polynesian brothers, or Asian. The Moorish paradigm, it just changed the whole trajectory of everything, what we can do. Um, so we're called, but back to the scope. What you talking about? You need to know astrologically yourself, so you can see what gifts that you can give to humanity naturally. Because you hear you have a certain characteristic. You have everybody on this in the meeting right now has special gifts that you just need to tap into so you can do great things, you know what I mean? So and to protect yourself. I think that was the other point he was saying. How do you protect yourself with this information? Is now you know how to protect your energy. Because if you know yourself, you're gonna know how much you can handle, how much you can't handle. So you shouldn't be at a point where you can never allow somebody outside of you to make you angry, unless you are doing it for a reason to maybe do some discipline, or somebody just need to be checked or whatever. But it's not just so impulsive where you flying off the handle because you can't control your emotions. Um, you want to get to that point as well. But I yield. Um, unless anybody has something else. I feel Larry Bay has something.
Yeah. I wanted to add on to what the brother was saying in regards to protect, our safeguarding our energies and so forth. But ancestrally, before the Europeans made the Albions made their voyages here, we did used to practice those forms of arts and so forth. They just disregarded it as witchcraft, and we used to go into the woods, to go into the forest, collect berries, fruits, herbs, and all these healing mechanisms, bring them back to the family, heal our energies and so forth. But once they came over here, once again, because their connection to the most high, well, not I'm gonna say that. I want to say to nature itself, it's a little different from ours. So they just regarded it as, okay, these people are strange. They need to be, it needs to be castrated from them. They need to be, ripped. This needs to be separated from their culture, and that's what they did, man. So ultimately, it was part of our makeup, but this is where the whole term, the witchcraft, voodoo, all these different things, these different aspects that they created to keep us away from it. Actually, this is all to keep you away from that. But this is what we had as people in the very beginning. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
because
sir. Yes, sir.
like one time I had a very like a older African lady time. And I was talking to her, and she said in Africa when they don't want it to rain, her country where she come from, outside in the front yard, dig a small hole, put sea salt in it, and cover the hole, and it'll stop the rain from coming. I was like, wow.
Ancient remedies, man.
Sure.
We all know about great grandma getting the
Yeah.
remedies in the backyard, right?
Right.
This cliche. This cliche right here, you know.
It
So
remind me of
And if you think about that, like all the ancient kind of ways, like back when in slavery times, it's still practiced in the South. You know what I'm saying? Like my grandmother, she wasn't alive during slavery times, but she did a lot of things that was ancient practices. Like when a kid had a fever, she would tie a piece of onion around their wrist and put them to bed. And in the morning, the onion would be cooked and the fever would be gone out the child.
Yeah, well, in
that's
today's
heavy right there.
Yeah, you put
yeah,
them
That's heavy.
toe in your socks. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
well,
Yeah.
you know how it is in these contemporary times, man. You know, they want to fill you with these synthetic medicines. You know, they're you know, we all know that they're forbidden to use natural remedies, these doctors. You know, all they trained in is to treat the symptoms and not to cure the issue. So we know all that.
right. I don't take no NyQuil, no Tylenol. I don't do none of that, bro. And been like that for a few years now.
Yeah. Oh, Benjamin Bay, you got something?
I was saying, this makes me think of the song Shadow Boxing. When you're talking about like the voodoo and things of that nature. I think Cujo's verse is perfect. He's like, get you a pen, write down, you know, certain things and on a candle and things like that. That's like hoodoo or, you know, voodoo, things of that nature, or those rituals. You know what I'm saying? That remind me like it's basically shadow boxing. You know what I'm saying? How to protect yourself during certain things. You got to go to the courts and things like that. You want to do certain more things before you even go there. You know what I'm saying? I've heard someone like walking around the building like counterclockwise 3 times or things of that nature. But overall, just shadow box. That's how we would do it. You know, and that's all that is. You know, the grandma tying something around your wrist or putting uh, garlic under your foot and things of that nature. You know, just shadow boxing, fighting physical things, fighting the invisible with physical things. You know what I mean? Type deal. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
what.
well,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
we all
we need to stop classifying it as voodoo. I think the Slavs came with that terminology. It's actually, if I'm correct, African science. You know what I'm saying? Actually, is the proper term, or Moorish science, if you will.
More
Because
science.
you know what I'm saying? We should stop saying voodoo. That was a tactic of them to make us think like, oh, it's just like Marv and Larry was saying, oh, the chicken foot and all that weird shit. Like, I'm quite sure
Yeah.
it's involved, but what we trying to do, we don't have to be like dealing with no chicken foot and all that in a little doll and stabbing a needle in it. We ain't trying to do that. You know what I mean?
It's really just in which the world works that nobody's sharing and nobody really knows about.
yeah, man. I was gonna tell everyone, keep your mind right, man. These psychic attacks is never
Yeah.
ending. Never ending.
And that would at least say they're trying every week mind, especially these times in this mental slavery. Think they free and not because the chains is gone. They can go to the store and get a Coca Cola or something. Like, oh, that's
Hey, the
I would
Coca
like
Cola,
that.
the Coca Cola is slavery itself. It's slavery itself, man.
I know.
The
Hey,
Coca
look, bro.
Cola is.
The brand, that's what the brand stand for. Shit.
Man, when I see
Well,
all that stuff that
Yeah.
you could do with that Coca-Cola soda, I'm embarrassed I even drunk it when I did. I don't drink soda no more. But you cleaning battery acid with Coke, like, come on, bro.
yeah, man. Yeah, exactly.
Body,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
Hey,
exactly.
and I was gonna say too, like one of the brothers said, I was gonna say, I think we could also agree that like with like any practice or knowledge, like you usually find people that try to use you. I mean, some things are dedicated to one way, but there's things that people use some things for good and some things they use things for bad.
oh, right.
And
Yeah.
so you know what I mean? So I think it's important for an individual to have that pure energy in whatever he's going through of trying to do it the right way. And when you
Yeah,
have that the most high or the universe, or however brothers want to put it, is going to be with you and lead you on your journey the right way, you know?
Facts.
And for me, you know, like I said, everybody, you know, on that journey, but like what the prophets was after, you know what I mean? And they their whole thing was trying to speak the message of the universe or the Most High. So that's where I go to for my guidance. And you know, it's a journey, it's an understanding that takes time and it takes study. But besides that, I yield.
Yes,
Yeah.
So Kyle mentioned something about rituals. You know, we need to establish rituals, which are pretty much traditions that we keep. Um, for example, we just had a winter solstice event. We ancient people all around the world. We did a demonstration how all our ancient cultures celebrated winter solstice. Of course, we know it's the four gates. We know it was a time for regeneration, planting seeds and things like that. But that's an example of traditional. You know, we had a Moorish celebration to honor what our ancestors honored for the reason they honored it. You know, we even had a planting a pot. We brought pots with dirt, with different seeds, with different herbs. You know, everybody planted, and you know what I mean. Everything's in harmony. So once we keep these things up, now we keeping up our rituals. You know, and what that does is create the brotherhood and sisterhood and camaraderie to start doing business dealings and uh, creating that magnetism where other people see what we're doing. And come on, learn about your nationality and birthrights. You know, so you know, holy day, how we honor for Friday as a holy day. That's these are traditions. These are rituals. Um, and we can create our own as long as they're in harmony. You know. Any other thoughts on this space? I did have a demonstration dealing with the new year and the fiscal year. I would imagine everybody in here knows about it, but I still wanted to cover because for one, it's recorded. Um, but any other thoughts on this space before we transition to that? And then I'm gonna read a verse in the Silent Brotherhood of the East and then close out. And then the brother Yazir Bey, brother Benjamin Bay's putting things in the chat dealing with astrology fundamentals. And if anybody else that wants to get tight on that, check out the chat. Uh, some links in the chat. All right, so when we're dealing with the fiscal new year and actual new year, of course, we know spring would be the new year for the earth, but it's still good to know this info, have it fresh on our mind, because you might run across somebody that needs to hear this. Uh, so the fiscal new year, not the new year. Many are now acknowledging December 31st as the ending eve of the fiscal new year, January 1st, the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. It's the seemingly increased consciousness of making the distinction of saying happy fiscal new year is because the people, the masses, have recognized this. They have proof on their pay stubs, as it says the year ending, and that year ending is December 31st, the fiscal year ending. Upon recognizing it for what it is, they also recognize that if they are a product of nature, and we all are coming from the womb, and if we are not acknowledging nature's new year, which is in spring, we are simply out of harmony with nature and ourselves. January 31st is not the time. January 1st is not the time to make resolutions, to be brought forth with the universal energies of regeneration. This doesn't mean you can't invoke change and new things at any time you want. So there's nothing wrong with having a resolution, but you can do that anytime you want. It doesn't have to just be right now. You can make change anytime you want. However, for the purposes of collectively accentuating rebirth or resurrecting energies in harmony with the universe and nature's vibrations, this simply is not it. It is possible then, we may see, as indicated in nature, And as is written in ancient scripture, to let nature show the way. Nature is not having a new year right now. It will occur in harmony with nature in the spring on March 21st, lasting for 3 days as the spring or vernal equinox, which brings in the season of spring, or Averna, Vernus, or Venus, Isis, Aphrodite, or any name you may have read about the adopted that represents the feminine and creative energy of fertility. So that's another thing. Our people were seeing Isis, Aphrodite, Astarte, is where you get Eastern Star. We don't want our people to get rocked to sleep. This is all an expression of Venus dealing with energy of fertility. That's another thing I want to bring up. We can't forget these things. Up until May 23rd or so is the entirety of spring. In the spring, Aries, Earth will begin to spring forth with the new growth from Earth. No need to worry. You can actually see this with your own eyes as evidence of proof. Thus, we are being fooled, slacking and giving energy to those who have been identified as subjects or corporations that are absolutely not interested because of the only thing that they're worried about is profits and losses, but taxing you to ensure they get a portion of yours. So once again, fiscal new year is dealing with accounting. All corporations have a fiscal new year. When you start up a corporation, LLC, C Corp, they have a fiscal new year, which means when is the start of your bookkeeping and when is the end of the bookkeeping going to end. And then you assess the bookkeeping. All right. So the United States Federal Corporation is assessing the bookkeeping for the year of the cattle that participated in their system. All right. It is possible then, no, naturally, they had to devise a way to find out what you have. And of course, you subscribe to it and support it every year, thinking it is law. They even have procedures and protocols such as you have 3 years to submit income tax reports. After you have missed 3 years, they will start writing you and sending you threatening notes at the same time, suggesting it is best to avoid tax court because there's no such thing as tax court. Why are we saying there's no such thing as tax court? Because that's not mentioned in their constitution, the constitution that was given to them. Traffic court, these aren't courts. Does not. It's either Supreme Court or courts that have been given permission by the Supreme Court to exist, which make them an Article 3 judge pursuant to Article 3 of the Constitution. So I wanted to highlight that. The Supreme Court has already determined that the 16th Amendment did not give Congress any additional taxing power. The 16th Amendment is what they utilize to support taxing people. So back to the divine warning, 14th and 15th Amendment is not necessary for the salvation of our people. So we know the 16th Amendment ain't. And for one, these things weren't ratified. Once again, that's another layer to that. And we're talking about the Constitution. Congress only has the authority to levy taxes pursuant to what they took an oath to. So anything that's not Congress can't levy taxes. And also the IRS is a creature of a different department, even though the IRS has nothing to do with the United States. But the way they got it, their hierarchy is as if it's the Department of Treasury or something like that. Or a certain branch that has nothing to do with taxing. So worrying about the henchmen, they send the henchmen to get you because you signed an agreement that instructs them to come back and collect from you next year and every year thereafter. And if you act as if you are not willing to honor it, well, rather than stomp their feet like a child who doesn't get their way, they become assertive, aggressive, and quite frankly, overbearing. The problem is you probably did not know that the forms you signed is an adhesive contract. This is why there are laws of contracts, such as full disclosure, to protect you. So once again, the basics of contract law for dummies. These are all things I recommend. Um, what makes a contract valid? What are the things that make a contract valid? These are all things you could put in a search engine. Um, for one, you can't contract with a minor. The contract needs signatures from all parties that are involved in the contract. So if it's just one signature, that would be a violation of contract law. Like I just read, full disclosure. If things are hidden or things that are going on that are not disclosed in the contract, that's not a contract. It gets dissolved, and you're not obligated to it no more, or feel pressure to be obligated. So once you spot the fraud, and then you put that in the affidavit form, now you don't worry about court now. Oh yeah, to that I can't wait to go to court. I got all the facts right here of how this is a fraudulent contract pursuant to law. All right. And 9 times out of 10, they just gonna kind of leave you alone once you start hitting them with affidavits with competence. But let's say you do go to court. It's like what they gonna the IRS is not part of Congress. It's fraud. They can't tax me. And it's a voluntary withholding system. In the internal in the tax revenue code, which is the Internal Revenue Service law, it says it's voluntary in their stuff at that. So I just wanted to just right, a minor. Right. So you a minority for lack of knowledge, right? That makes your political status. That's what a minority is, a classification of our people that don't know stuff, don't know their culture, don't know nothing, don't know law, contract law. So you're awarded to stay for lack of knowing how to contract. You're awarded to stay for not uniting amongst each other, setting up businesses, creating prosperity, wealth, ecosystem amongst each other. So yeah. So what is going on? This is the period when corporations and people who are acting as officers of the corporations are counting their finances that the people have given throughout the fiscal year. And while those reports are being generated, they usually take a vacation in the Bahamas or to some other tropic resort. If all the financial reports have not been handled in before they leave, which gives them some kind of idea of what their finances look like for the fiscal year end, then when they return to the office from such vacation, they will work on collection and dissimulation and more appropriation, or rather inappropriation of funds. So once again, when you look at the city of whatever, you're going to go look up their charter. I don't care if it's the city of Long Beach, the city of Compton, the city of Watts. Look up the charter for that city. Analyze the charter. You're going to see there are articles of incorporation, just like a LLC, just like a C Corp, just like any other corporation. They got their bylaws, they got their board members, they're doing business, their DBA, how they're doing business as all caps, the city of, right? So, even we're talking federal, we're talking about Congress, and on that level, how IRS has nothing to do with Congress, so therefore they have no jurisdiction to collect taxes. But even on the local level, dealing with the municipalities, they say they're municipal corporations. All the city of whatevers are municipal corporations. So anybody that's paying to them, they're doing it voluntarily, based on how they contracted with their job that they have. Because once again, if you're not part of that board, not only does your vote don't count, but you have no say. That's internal. You're not part of that corporation. Why would you be paying the taxes to that? You got nothing to do with that. So everything is voluntary base. And of course, they put pressure on the jobs, the major jobs. They put pressure on the higher ups. make sure you get a W-2 or a W whatever to have you sign in to initiate that process, right? But once again, when you study the Internal Revenue Code, there's options to even contract in that manner, where it's voluntary or not. So it's just about competence. This book, highly recommended. You can go on whoever wants to get sharper in that area. These are reference points. It's a book called Confused About Taxes. That's a reference point to go more in depth in that. What about Social Security? Another tax, of which now in some states they take out of disability and unemployment after the same deduction. If you have to collect unemployment, they ask you the question if they can tax it again. Absolute ludicrousism, as it already is taxed. In fact, it is the tax which was collected for the purpose of why you were collecting it, sickness and unemployment. The good thing is that at least they ask you. If you say yes and agree, well, that is extra in their income, not yours. However, if one does say yes, it is only because they are not aware. All right. And then we have an ancient maxim: my people suffer from a lack of knowledge. So it's a double-edged sword. Of course, our people just don't know the information. They think it's as I'm supposed to do. But on the flip side, it's like you could have read whoever you're dealing with, you could read their manuals on their rules and regulations. Oh, I'm dealing with the IRS. Oh, let me read the internal revenue code. And then you're gonna find out that it's voluntary. So that's the flip. It's a duality to that, right? But of course, they got our people working to death. Our people ain't got time to study, and they just got to make this money so that they can pay that rent. So it's a lot of levels to this. That's why it's a certain amount of poise that has to be taken in patience and diligence and consistency. And it'll be okay. So once again, anybody that got any type of questions in this tax space, that this is a new space for, I gave a reference. And just study the whole IRS code. CFR and IRC is the same thing. So code of federal regulations and the Internal Revenue Code are the same exact thing. So just know that as well. And that's talking about taxes and how it's voluntary. So it has already been declared years back that it is highly likely those who are under 50 at that time will not receive Social Security benefits because there will be no finances to distribute. Here we are looking at that will come to fruition. Many, many people are aware that they're not going to get Social Security benefits, and they still allow for such deductions from their wages. I think I have figured it out. It is training, very close to brainwashing, actually. Besides, the best Social Security is people taking care of their elders themselves. I know now it is difficult because most of us are mentally and or emotionally ill and unstable and have lived out our lives that way. Many of us have grown to be elders and with disorders and have gone untreated. Therefore, it makes it very difficult sometimes to live with each other. So you have some elders and old folks homes because no one cares, and others because no one can care. They are impossible to deal with or to live with. All of this is our cultural deficiency, and yet will remain as our responsibility. There are only a few left that hold civilization principles. If we don't get to them and record what their parents said or distinctly passed down, we may be forever lost and ripe for the picking or for the tricking. So see how it's a full circle of life, back to knowing the culture, uniting community, knowing what our traditions, right? Back to what the brother said, what are our rituals? What are our customs? What are our principles? because rituals and principles are the same thing. Our people were known for having principles, or if we were the high priests and the nobles and the seers and all this, that means people came to us for guidance. We are the ones that wrote the holy books. You know what I'm saying? We wrote holy books to get our people up to speed that fail from they on low vibrational activity. Right. So when we get reminded of these things, we don't have a need for these things, Social Security, and it wouldn't matter if they're taking out your check because everybody's working together and we have our own stuff and institutions. But since that's not the case, we fall victim to them dangling the carrot in our face. I gotta pay rent. I gotta do this. Well, our people don't got hospitals. Our people ain't surgeons. Our people, ain't no more institutions that's I can go to. So I gotta go. I gotta go here. That's the reality. Um, so brick by brick, we're gonna do what we do to change the ether. One human being at a time. Um, let's go down here. So let's look at that the winter solstice or Christmas, and we already that had already passed, but most of us know what that really is about. So explain that to the people as well. But most importantly, the fiscal new year and the natural new year is two different things. When we look at the fiscal new year, just what is fiscal? We're talking about counting, monetary. That shows you that the United States is a federal corporation. It shows you that they're bookkeeping, right? It's a fiscal new year. All right. So that's why the ball's dropping and all that. We're going to run into friends and family that we may not have saw in a while because they're off work during these times. You might see some people that you haven't seen in a while, touch bases with them, drop some jewels on them. Let them know what's really going on around here. They might hit you with, oh man, I was talking about this the other day with my colleague at work. We was talking about this more to this. I'm telling you, people be ready to receive. Just hit people with the light. Any thoughts on that before we transition to the Silent Brotherhood of the East here?
Yeah,
Go ahead, go
Mafia.
ahead.
I just wanted to make a quick comment regarding the taxation. More for the most part, we do understand the knowledge of there shouldn't be any taxation of our people per se. However, when we're dealing with the force of arms, basically, or like you say, the coercion, the threat per se, moral duress. When you, for example, let's say you are hired onto a job per se, and you vouch to them that, hey, I'm a Moorish American, I am a allodial American national. I don't have I have a non-tax obligatory status, right? And their comeback is, okay, they're gonna dangle the carrot because they know, once again, when we don't have institutions, we don't have all these different variations of for our society and our survival set up. So they'll dangle that carrot in front of you, and if you don't bend to the force of arms per se, then, as they say, you don't eat. That's the problem. And that's why I always strongly suggest that we all come together, man, as quickly as possible. As quickly as possible. Let bygones be bygones, put everything to the side.
Wow. Yep. That's the end game. Any other thoughts on that space?
I do have one thought on the space. Well, go ahead, because I was gonna say some stuff.
Okay. Um, Thank you. I just want to say really quick as we're transitioning, I know you kind of mentioned like taking care of the elders. I just want to put some information out there that there are like programs like in-home supportive services and other programs where if say you have an elder that you need to care for, you can get paid for doing that. If any of you guys are still like in the working space, that's something that I did for my grandma. So I just want to put that out there that it's possible to care for your elders and also like receive compensation. So I just want to put that out there since that was kind of the topic we're on. That's all I want to
Wow.
say.
Islam. Okay.
My little last thing was this. So the legal status of the corporations, technically, when would be the date? It would be the Act of 1871, right? When the District of Columbia was formed. That's when the United States became a corporation instead of a republic, right? It'd be 1871, or is it when the Federal Reserve they made the 16th Amendment and they did that act to like directly tax us with the IRS and all those other various entities?
Yeah, the Act of 1871 is when it became a corporation, full blown. Because they killed Lincoln in 1868, and then they created the democracy platform a couple years later. And now you got the Act of 1871, which made it known for real for that it's a corporation. They're just acting out of government now. It's just a stage play. But you're also right with the 16th Amendment is what they're using to justify that taxing needs to happen because you're a citizen you're a U.S. citizen. That's what citizens of a nation do. They pay taxes to have safety and shelter. So we can clean the streets, trash gets taken out, and all this type of stuff. So once again, because we're not doing that for ourselves, back to the whole stateless thing. If you have a nationality and you have a culture and a people, that means you're supposed to have a community to have that going on for yourself. It's supposed to be Moorish trash, Moorish businesses taking out the trash. We're supposed to have doctors. We're supposed to have things where we don't have to go to foreigners for assistance. Once that's intact, now none of this even matters about the 16th Amendment and the Act of 1871 because it had nothing to do with us. Now we're more in the international playing field dealing with rights of indigenous people, treaties. That's the only thing the Constitution really got to have to do with us once we're self-sustaining is Article 6. Interaction with nations that have non-U.S. citizens, the rule book is the treaty. It hasn't been a treaty violation. The rule book is the international dealing with the rights of indigenous people. The right to self-determination.
Article 6, right?
Yeah, Article 6 of the Constitution. It's also called a supremacy clause. But that comes after the self-determination. See, the rights of indigenous people, we're talking about we have the right to self-determination, but we have to exercise it to invoke the document. Self-determination, you know what that looks like? That's why I bring up the Chinatown. Any community that's flourishing, that is an action. Self-determination, you've made a determination that we're going to work together and we didn't build stuff. It is a community right now. Now we invoke the rights of indigenous people in treaties in a way that most more want to. But when you scatter, we're not self-determination. We're an inactive nation. Right? So you can't talk about invoking no treaties when the nation was scattered. So I wanted to say that too, as well. So some things you gotta crawl before you walk.
Right.
And some things just stay diligent, stay consistent, because what happens is people start getting wind of the momentum and you start getting assistance, you start, things start taking off. People start seeing your sincerity. So it's all about the conviction in your heart first. Are you bought in to what this movement is about? Or anything for that matter? Are you bought in? Do you have conviction? Because if you do, you're gonna do things and stay consistent to make the fruit occur, right? You're gonna plant the seeds until you see the fruit. Because you know the fruit gonna come. It's back to what you said earlier, Brian, about how these people, how can you use the heavens for prophecy? It's a scientific perspective, right? The meteorologist is gonna predict the weather for a week or two out based on the trends and the data. So the trends and the data is whatever you do, especially if it's righteous and consistent, people gonna support it. Back to like what I do, I'll be selling merch. I'm a merchant pretty much. Like, I sell holistic products. Wrote a book, got music, and all type of stuff. I'm talking with people about 5 days a week. I'm in the public eye. So now I'm starting to see people for over years, is year and a half passed by. I'm seeing people when they know me for being a merchant. Oh, he's part of an organization that promotes unity with. They might look at it. Oh, they're trying to unite Latinos and Black people, or some people might know but people know what I'm standing for. So after a
Right.
while, it's like, oh, I've been seeing you on Instagram. I've been seeing the growth. Oh man, you still at it. I might see the person I ain't seen in about 6, 7 months, but you still consistent.
You're still doing it.
Well, yeah, let me donate, man. Here go 50. I don't even want that. I just respect what you're doing. Oh man, I know somebody that can probably help you with this. Let me, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, I see
Now,
what you
now
mean.
I'm in the door. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah,
like the like the function we had at the Anaheim Stadium. Yeah,
yeah,
the Anaheim Stadium. It was like thousands of people there. I know, you know what I'm saying? That was based on the
yeah,
connection that was made based on being active. And you just start running across people, networking. It's
yes,
things just start the active momentum, not passive, not stagnant, right? It's all act. So you know what I mean? So it just don't stop. It don't stop, man. We're supposed to inspire each other too while we're going through this to do great things. That's what we're here for. The brotherhood and the sisterhood. She just walked through the door. Now I never walked through the door when I said brotherhood and sisterhood. I find that very divine. Um, any other thoughts on this? Anything? Anything at all? Anybody want to comment on? Let me check the chat here. Oh, Benjamin Bay dropping heat up in here. Anybody trying to get tight with astrology? Benjamin Bay dropping reference points in the chat. Trying to know thyself. All right, and so let me transition to the Silent Brotherhood of the East. If nobody has any other thoughts in that space, and then we can close out here. And yeah, I guess we can talk about Noble Jew Ali Day too, a little bit more. The new developments on that. So this is chapter 16. Yahshua passes the third brotherhood test. Faith. Faith. Do you believe in what you're talking about? Do you believe in this movement, the principles in it? Do you think this really has salvation for our people? Can we do great things? Do you have faith in that? The Logos waited 7 days and then was taken to the Hall of Fame, a chamber rich in furnishings and lighted up with gold and silver lamps. The colors of it is ceiling decorations, furnishings, and walls were blue and gold. Its shelves were filled with books of masterminds. The paintings and the statues were the works of the highest art, and Yahshua was entranced with all this elegance and these manifests of thought. So Yahshua was intrigued. Look how this was worded. Yahshua was intrigued by all these books written by masterminds. What is it called? Manifests of thought. Humans had a thought and did brilliant things. Right. When you look at it that simple, it hit different. We're here to manifest, create, build. He read the sacred books and sought the meanings of the symbols of the hieroglyphs. Yahshua was trying to decipher the hieroglyphs, decipher the metaneter, the nature carvings on the pyramids. He's trying to decipher these things. And by the way, it's a book called the Kabbalion dealing with the seven Hermetic principles, each chapter dealing with each principle in depth. It talks about how Abraham learned from the principles of Thoth, which is a quote unquote Greek corruption. It's really, Tahuti, Thoth is the same person. But the principles of Thoth or Tahuti is Hermetic. So once you understand the Hermetic principles, you're in harmony with what Abraham was laying down. Right. And when he was absorbed in deepest thought, a priest approached and said, "Behold, the glory of this place. My brother, you are blessed. Few men of earth so young have reached such heights of fame." Talking about Yeshua. He's a young man, well renowned, right? For his principles, his wisdom. Now, if you do not waste your life in search for hidden things that man can never comprehend, you may be founder of a school of thought that will assure you endless fame. Remember, it's a brotherhood test. They're trying to offer him fame. Like, Yeshua, you the man around here. You could be set for life. I could say, right? They dangling the carrot in front of Yeshua. This chapter is talking about faith. For your philosophy is deeper far than that of Plato, and your teachings please the common people more than those of Socrates. Gassing Yeshua up. You the man over here. They all following. Right? Why seek for mystic light when within these acquainted dens? Go forth and walk with men, and they will honor you. And after all, these weird initiations may be myths, and your Messiah hopes but illusions of the hour. I could advise you to renounce uncertain things and choose the course that leads to certain fame. Focus on the fame. And thus the priest, the demon in disguise, sang siren songs of unbelief, and Yeshua meditated long and well on what he said. The conflict was a bitter one. So Yeshua wrestling back and forth like, for king ambition is a sturdy foe to fight. Right? You can get so caught up in the ambition where you lose sight of just being a humanitarian. You just focus on the mission. Right? Sometimes you gotta, you don't abandon the mission because you're sitting down dealing with your water elements, right? You don't have to stay earthy. And that's the whole point, is to be an alchemist and tap into that nurturing side. So when you say, king ambition is a sturdy foe to fight, that's what you're saying. You don't have to always just be so earthy. If you're stuck in earth, that's a handicap. You got to know how to deal with all the elements. All right. So for 40 days, the higher self wrestled with the lower self. And then the fight was on. So Yeshua having a fight that can't be told in words. Another Noble Jew Ali one-liner. But it goes deeper, right? Than just the one-liner. Faith rose triumph, but unbelief was not. Ambition covered up his face and fled away. And Yeshua said, the wealth, the honor, and the fame of earth are but the baubles of the hour. When this short span of earthly life has been measured out, man's bursting bubbles will be buried with his bones. Yes, what man does for himself itself will make no markings on the credit side of life. Oh. The good that man for other men shall do becomes a ladder strong on which the soul may climb to wealth and power and fame of Allah's own kind that cannot pass away. Give me the poverty of men, consciousness of duty done in love, the approbation of Allah, and I will be content. And he lifted up his eyes to the heavens and said, My Father Allah, I thank thee for this hour. I ask not for the glory of myself. I fain will be a keeper of the temple gates and serve my brother man. Again was Joshua called to stand before the Hierophant or the high priest or the Magi. Again, no word was said. But in his hands, the master placed a scroll on which was written faith. And Yahshua bowed his head in humble thanks and went away. So once again, we're dealing with another brotherhood test that was conquered, right? He's ascending. He didn't let the golden calf or the shiny objects deter what the real thing is about. Of course, when you're doing great work, you kind of by default are like a role model, even if you don't want to be, right? So it's a fine line between, the fame. Is that your sole motivation of why you're doing what you're doing, or are you really trying to assist and help the people? These chapters, or from any holy books for that matter, is just principle-driven concepts to use in your own life. You might be in a certain position in your life. Just don't abuse your position. You might have a certain status within the community. Just don't abuse your status. People come to you for counsel. Just don't abuse the counsel. Right? Any thoughts on this chapter?
I said,
Yeah,
well,
yeah, go ahead. No. I started talking to you. Go ahead, you got it.
With great power come great responsibility. So I would use you an example. You could easily do that. Take advantage of your position. You know what I mean? Take people's whatever. Take advantage of mine and finances or whatever. But you're like, nah, I'm gonna stay the course. Win, lose, or draw. Profit in the forefront. Us moving as a community is in the forefront. And I'm not. I don't know. Not saying you've been tempted by certain things, but I'm sure people come across and hey, bro, you can do this, and a way to make your brand and what you're doing at a higher pace. You could have taken a route, be like, nah, I'm gonna stay this course, and that's respectable. That's what I got from him. You saying, don't abuse the position. You know what I'm saying? You are a perfect example of that. Not saying you're perfect, but in action. You know what I'm saying? And accountability. No, I'm not going to abuse this position. You know what I mean? I respect that a lot. But that's what I took from it. You know what I'm saying? I'm using you an example of this, of being tested and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? So I commend you. But that's what I got from it. With great power comes great responsibility. I mean,
Wow. Islam, I appreciate you too, man. Any other thoughts on the space?
I have a thought. Reading this kind of reminded me of I've seen a little quote somewhere where it says that trees, when they grow and they have fruit, they don't eat their own fruit. It's for other people to eat. So I think when we're talking about the space of not being selfish and giving and things like that, that kind of reminded me of that.
Well, that.
Wow. Anybody else? Any thoughts on this space? Before we close out and talk about Noble Drew Ali Day. Okay. Let's close out in prayer here. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Amen. And let me close out the meeting, and then we can start talking about Noble Drew Ali Day. Let me stop hitting record.